Hello, welcome back to another Manga Talks video. Today we're going to go through kind of like a reading log type thing, an update on what I've been reading for the past couple of weeks. And the main thing across all of them is that these are books that I've had for close to a year or longer, a couple years now, and I am slowly getting through the catalog of books that I haven't read in my collection. And yeah, honestly, all of these I actually enjoyed, or most of them I enjoyed. But I'll start with the books that I'm currently reading right now. So if you have seen my Umezz box set video, this comes from that. This is one of the books that is titled The Red Butterfly Girl. And it is styled in the same way as it was released in the Nakayoshi magazine. So this is the main book that I'm currently reading right now. I am only 14 pages out of like 100 pages, I think. So still at the start, but just to give you a rundown of the premise, we start off with our main character here. Her name is Hono, and we have some other characters like the teacher, another girl here, her family, and whatnot. And the backstory to her is that when she was born in a fire, essentially. Her father had sacrificed himself to get her family out to safety, and hence her name Hono. But that also created a fear of fire in her. And so we start off the story with just like an introduction to the school and this girl here who likes the teacher, and there's this like scene where I think the teacher, something to do with like, just trying to remember what happened actually. The teacher discovers like a note, like a love note about him, and he goes to burn it. But because Hono is afraid of fires, she immediately goes to get some water and splashes it on him. And yeah, that is where I'm up to right now. So nothing crazy happening so far, but just to flip through the end, just a little sneak peek of that. But yeah, I am really enjoying this feeling of reading something with such a old looking, like, this was not of the current era. Like the eyes are so huge, but it's Umezz, and it feels really fun to be reading this. So there's four more, I think. Yeah, four more books in that box set. I'm going to be taking my time with it, but this one specifically I started off with first because there are some other books in the box set that I actually have read, but from that Umezz box set video, I compared it to the Perfection edition of Snake Woman. There were some differences, so I will be reading that again at some point in the distant future, and if when I notice the differences, I'll probably point them out in a video. So yeah, this is the first book that I'm currently reading. And the next one is this here. So I'm actually reading two books at the same time. So this is The Invisible Human Goes Out by Rotaico. Had this for quite I would honestly guess like 2 years now. This was still wrapped in the packaging. But it was like, for me, when I look at buying books, buying manga specifically, I love going in blind, so the cover actually plays a big role for me. The whole thing of like not judging a book by its cover. But sometimes, I do, just because when I'm specifically looking for things to read, to explore and discover for the first time, sometimes I do my research. Sometimes I look into who the artist is, what the art looks like, but sometimes I don't. And it's like a kind of a vibe thing depending on what I'm feeling, because I've had a lot of instances where I've been like really surprised in a really positive way of how a manga turns out, because I had zero preconception of what it would be. And this is one of them. And so it's a collection of short stories. Right now I'm probably a little over halfway, but enjoying it so far. Actually, the main story, the titular story, is essentially just about a guy who turns himself invisible and realizes that it is not the way to live. But eventually, or like by chance, he goes out, stumbles upon a woman who is actually talking to herself, but he thinks she's talking to him. And then he speaks out of nowhere and reveals himself to her. And from that point, their relationship develops, and it is quite a wholesome story. The second story is about a body swap, where a couple have been in a fight because they're essentially not happy with their current lifestyle, and from this chance happening, their body swap allows them to, view each other's lives from a different perspective, see what they want for themselves in terms of like work or family and that sort of thing. And eventually it also does lead to like a mutual understanding between the two of them. So a lot of like wholesome stories so far, but my favorite story out of the ones I read is this one here. So spoilers for this. Funnily enough, when I looked at this, the drawing of this woman, it reminded me a lot of, oh god, I already forgot the mangaka name. I will put the mangaka name in the description. It's one of the Seirin Kogeisha like acts mangaka. I showed her book before. She did Genesis. Hoshiso no Sumeriko. That's the one. Just the way they do the hair, just like a random thought I had. But this one is called You'll Be the Same Tomorrow. Anyways, and it is like all of the stories in this book are emotional, but this one I think hit me the most so far because I'm still reading through things. But essentially we follow Mari and this guy who pops in, who essentially started a conversation because Mari is fed up with her current, I guess, lifestyle. She's been stuck in this cafe for a while. She doesn't like having the same scenery, but the customer on the other hand states that he does like things to be the same. He's been coming for the past 10 years and nothing has really changed. His looks haven't really changed either, but he does invite her out and he reveals that he's actually a clone because he goes to a grave and he is number 10, clone number 10. And it's all because his lover, the original body of his, he died when he was 23 years old, and his lover was so distraught that she went ahead to create the clone. And so every year, the clone essentially just replicates itself, because when it turns 24, it goes back into the freezer, and then a new clone pops up. But when Mari hears all of this, she doesn't like it because, that's kind of unfair. What about each individual clone? Don't they have like the right to live? That sort of thing. And that's what she suggests. But what happens is that while on a day out with clone 10, she gets hit or injured, but clone 10 is gone. And so she finds 11 and realizes that, well, clone 10 probably went back into the freezer. And it's a really emotional, I love this page so much. It's like the texture of a teary vision, essentially. But she gets her memories back and goes back to that same area to find that clone 10 has actually not gone to the freezer and died, and he actually was like, she was the impetus to him for wanting to live. And it is a happily ever after story. So really love the vibes of this one. I also like the cover is amazing. It's a really nice looking book too. But yeah, enjoyed it a lot. I don't know much about Rotaico. Don't know if they've done any other books, but as of right now, I do recommend the books, the stories in this book. Great one. And then now we come to 4 books that I have finished recently. So I'll start with panpanya because actually, my specific opinions of panpanya, I've read this is maybe the 3rd one I've read. Panpanya is surprisingly not my thing, which is weird because when it comes to their works, they do a lot of those like dream-like journey stories, which on paper should be something that I like, but weirdly enough, I've never totally vibed with their stories. I think for me, it's because it's a little bit too quiet, if that makes sense. Like, I do love the randomness, the weird concepts that happen with their stories, but I think it is very, like, if you compare it to something like Neru no Daisuki, for example, they do a similar thing where it's just insane stuff happening in the everyday, but I think it's elevated a lot because they put it as the extraordinary. But I think for panpanya, they do the opposite, which is not a bad thing, right? Where it's like taking things that are completely like insane in a normal setting and making that the ordinary, which I guess Neru Daisuke does do like the same concept, but at the same time I think it is, I think quiet is a little like the best way I can describe it. But I did still enjoy some of these stories. So this is walking through the shopping street. Not at the time that I bought it, it was the most recent panpanya book. Panpanya has put out actually a lot of books, maybe like 8 or 9. Okay, so I bought it in 2023 because I remember seeing this and thinking, oh, I should get this when it comes out. And I did because I wanted to give panpanya another chance. But yeah, like some of these stories, for example, we have this one, House in a House. It's about a friend who lives in like a house in a house. Essentially what had happened was like there were a family of houses, and they had a kid, but there wasn't enough space, so they pretty much combined into the same house. So the house itself, the layout is very confusing. You open doors and it opens up to a roof, and it's like a layout that you can't figure out at all, which was pretty interesting. There is a couple of chapters of this specific series where it's like the journey to a place I don't know, so just a lot of random happenings, like finding out that they are on a ship transporting cars. But I think my favorite story from this was like there was a mecha one, a mecha fight one. Yeah, this one's called Super House, and it starts off with this salesman, and as salesmen are, they get really pushy, and in their house they discover there's this like attack button pretty much, where salesman comes back with a like insane what was that called? Forgot what it's called. But anyways, they fight. The house comes to life. They fight. Love the artwork, and there's a lot of like motion lines going throughout. But this was just a really fun chapter to read. But I do really find it interesting. Like panpanya is quite unique in the way that they draw their characters. Like for example here, their characters would sometimes be drawn in pencil very simply, and then everything else is drawn in normal ink around them. And I find that a really unique stylistic choice that I haven't seen anywhere else. So panpanya for sure is a very unique mangaka, story writer, but weirdly enough, like even I don't understand it myself sometimes. Weirdly enough, I'm not that into their works. But who knows, I could give them another try again because they have a number of works out. In English, I think there's like 2, like Guyabano Holiday and the Crab one. But I also think some of them maybe have been delayed in production, because I think it was Denpa that was putting them out. But yeah, if you are fans of like Neru no Daisuki or anything that is like dreamlike, psychedelic, then I think panpanya would be a great go-to if you want that quiet, ordinary vibe, but with just insane stuff happening in the background and the foreground. So yeah, not particularly a fan of the color though. I will admit it is a little bit too yellow for me, without too much variation in the color. There's only like yellow and red. So the Orbi does a lot to balance that with the blue, but I do love the actual artwork though, like the design choice of labeling everything. It's a really cool quirk to the cover. So yeah, that was the panpanya book. And then the next one I'll go through is this one here. This one's called CHILDEATH Volume 1. Crazy name. There are 3 volumes. So unfortunately, the Volume 2 and 3 are all in digital, which sucks because I didn't know that. This was a part of like a haul where I bought a couple of volume 1s just to try out some series, and I'm really sad that volume 2 and 3 are digital because I actually love this one so much. I've never actually read digital from like Japanese digital edition, so I don't know how like to actually read it. I think I know from those websites you can do the thing where like they have a point system and whatnot, but I don't know if I want to do that because yeah, it sucks. I really wanted to, like, I would have been so happy if there was like if this was all in physical, but I guess not. But anyways, this one surprisingly enjoyed. Did not know anything about the concept before going into this, but essentially what it is that something has happened where the Time Witch has or cursed everyone with this thing where once you turn, I think was it maybe 12 or something like that? Once you go above a certain age, you die. So there are no adults in this world, there are only children. And that is a picture of what the Time Witch looks like. And these children have to fight off other witches with other powers themselves. And so no one is, everyone is, it's an apocalyptic setting. And as you can see, the opening couple pages are absolutely insane. We have these kids with these devices just flying and battling this gigantic beast of a witch. And we have deaths, very brutal deaths. We have suicide bombings into the witches. And it's a very, very brutal opening. And this main girl, she is getting like punished for going out of her position and all that type of stuff. But like, I think the one thing that really stood out to me, the art's great, but the witch designs actually are my favorite thing because they are actually pretty scary at times. Let me show you an example. I guess I will say spoilers from here. There is something special about the girl that is revealed quite early on anyways, but like, God, it is so good. And it's just this scene of the president of whatever with the bomb in his decapitated head blowing up this witch after dying is, yeah, it's so much chaos, very fast paced and very emotional throughout. I personally haven't been reading much of this genre of like action shonen stuff, so I was really surprised when I got back into it, and I loved it because I think I have a higher standard now when it comes to shonen stuff because I've read so much of it in my early manga journey. So it's great to be back every now and again to experience it. Okay, so this was one of the scary witches I was talking about. It's like a sphinx looking thing, but I hate the way that its eyes point in different directions. It is so creepy. But essentially its power is to like shoot bullets and like they're a vacuum or something like that. But let me find more this is such a creepy design. I absolutely hate it. But the art really does the concept justice. There is a lot of moving parts around with these powers and everything, but the witches are just my favorite thing in the whole series. And we have this scene here where the mouth is open a bit and it's just horrifying, absolutely horrifying. But yeah, I think the art is really dynamic. I'll see whether I do want to actually go ahead and get like these things in digital to read for the last 2 volumes, because I was on the edge of my seat reading this. This is amazing, and it ended on like volume 1 obviously ended on a cliffhanger, but we'll see whether I want to just go about and get the digital copies for the last 2 volumes. But yeah, CHILDEATH, really enjoyed it a lot, surprisingly. And then now we have, let's go with this one here. This is, title translates to, this is not Goodbye, You Idiot. Another collection of short stories. Love this one too. This was similar timing where I probably bought it like 2 years ago. This put out by Beam Comics. We always gotta love Beam Comic Works. But yeah, it's a lot of like the short stories, they don't all have like the same premise. Like for example, this one is about a idol duo that are shipped together online, but one of them wants to quit and the other doesn't want that. We also have like some short, really short stories, like 4 pages long. But I think one of my favorites, because I did enjoy this book overall a lot. This one here, my sister is a what? My sister's shit, I think. Yeah. It's set in a zombie apocalypse where the sister has been turned into a zombie, but their family is reluctant to let her go because, you know, she's still there. She just can't speak. She just acts like a zombie pretty much. But the zombie outbreak had been contained, so some people actually just keep them as, like, I guess some are too emotionally attached to the family members, and so they can't let them go. But this brother doesn't like it because the sister, when she was alive, would like tease him a lot, and he just hated the fact that the parents still cling on to her. But it's a really emotional story where eventually he slowly starts to kind of realize that yes, despite all the teasing, she's still his sister, and it's kind of like that sibling love and the relationship that they have. And that moment is like a pretty sad build-up where he does end up killing her to, you know, release her from the suffering. But that was probably one of my favorite stories from this entire book. We've got a story about what's his name? Oh, it's like a young magician who summons 2 familiars, but those familiars, they don't act as like slaves, they act as more like sisters to him because his family's not there. More idol stories. I do love the art a lot. More Yuri stories as well. But yeah, this one was also easy to read in terms of the Japanese, so that was great. But the cover is so in your face. The colors, love it. That was another reason why I bought this as well, because the cover looked great. So yeah, now we move on to the last one. This is yet another short story collection by Oya titled The End of the World. And it's a bigger format book. Had this sitting on my shelves for a couple of years too, but yet another one that I went into completely blind and enjoyed a lot, because the emotions in this one were even like just crazy sometimes. So the first story is the titular story, End of the World, where the world is in a post-apocalyptic state where eventually, oh sorry, no, I'm mixing it up, my bad. Okay, the first story is after the end, where essentially where this girl, she's like the daughter of a pilot, or a space pilot. I think he's like some important person. She's told not to like fly over Earth. Earth is completely off limits. Humanity is living in a ship, pretty much living outside or like in other planets, and looking down on Earth. The reason why is because there are a lot of these robots, and it's revealed that in the past there was like an all-out war with humans and robots, and she lands on it because her ship was damaged, and she finds out the history of the war, and that all the robots want is to just coexist. That's all they want. Oh, sorry, what was I saying? I think I was saying that the robots wanted to coexist, and she, you know, she's young, so she hasn't lived through what happened in the past, but through this, she takes this robot's wishes and tells her father, who's like a really big, important person, I guess, you know, saying that everything on Earth is fine now. We don't need to worry about this so-called danger that everyone was scared about. They just want to coexist. And in a really, really sad turn of events, or also expected at the same time, the father takes this information to know that the robots are there and they can take them on, and just obliterates all of them. And all of this, the main girl is oblivious to, because it takes like 2 years. And she's so finally happy to land on Earth and coexist with these robots, but it ends with her seeing like a tree that reminds her of E3, that robot. But we don't get to see the reveal, but it is a super sad ending. Oh, that hit me in the feels a lot. But that type of vibe is what this collection of stories go for. It's kind of that like plot twist, emotional ending type of thing. Another one which is really interesting, I think I'll show off two more stories from this. But this story is about a salesman who goes around to buy people's memories. And our main character is a guy who's just unemployed. He stumbles into him at a park, and the unemployed guy is pretty unsatisfied with everything, and so he thinks, okay, why not? Let me just sell my memories. And as we go through the memories, he sees everything again, and he realizes that he actually does love his mom. He doesn't want to let go of these memories. And then like he recognizes the pain that she has. But as he goes home, he apologizes to her and everything, but he sees the business card of the guy who buys memories, and he realizes that the mom had sold her memories in an attempt to get rid of all of suffering. So that was another story that just really hit me in the feels. What a twist! Another big one. Insane. But yeah, like this book was on my shelf for like, a lot of these books were on my shelf for like a year or more, but I don't ever want to rush into reading anything, because the right time is the right time, right? And I have enough books anyways that I want to go ahead with and read. But time is I have time anyways to just go through, and even just going back on old books too. I want to do that as well. I want to go back on books that I've already read, books that I've already flicked through, to just experience everything again. But yeah, so that was the end of that one there. And these were all the books that I have read and am reading at the same time. So it's been a good couple of weeks in terms of books and reading, because I had a bad streak beforehand of other books that I didn't really like. But yeah, it's been picking up, which is great. Also another update as well, I've been buying a couple of, I do have a haul coming, but they are like they're not in the same package. They'll be coming one by one, unfortunately. So I think once I receive them all, I do want to make a haul video on them. But I'm very excited for them, because these books they were, to be honest, stupidly expensive, but I really, really wanted them, and I don't think there's any other way to get them, and so I've spent more than what I should be spending on these. So that's the only hint I'll give, I guess. But yeah, another hint is that they're very limited. That's the reason why they cost so much. But sometimes I think of how much I spent. I'm like, damn. But at the same time, there's no other way to get these books. So we'll see in the next month or so. When they all come, they'll be coming separately on their own. But yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed this Manga Talks reading log video. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.